Good evening. This video explains how the example with a scheme map actually is made with SvgPublish. On the screen you can see basically the example, it's local one, but you can also find it on the SvgPublish website, which is unmanaged video. Anyways, what it is basically, it depicts the map, right, with some interactive, slopes and lifts. And on the left panel you have checkboxes, and clicking on some of them will turn off on the lifts, right, corresponding one, or enable slopes like here, for example. So to build such an example, first we need basically the source map, right, the source drawing, and that's assumed to be drawn manually. Here we have it in Microsoft Visio, as you can see, and each lift here is represented with a separate shape, so I can select each of them, right, and each slope also is represented with a shape. Now this is in particular is a group shape. So after that we do some processing to this diagram, right, and convert it into interactive SVG file like this. One more component here is this marquee line. This is built actually with a CSS style, and I will show that later how to build it exactly. Anyways, to start with, we open the source file in Visio, right, and for each shape we want to kind of animate. We need to specify some ID so that it can be identified later on with a script. And when we click the checkbox, it can just go on, find the corresponding line and toggle a visibility class by it, or like some style on it. To identify it, you can set it like with SvgPublish add-in, the ID or the class of the items on this diagram. Here you have a panel of SvgPublish, right? And then if you select some item on the diagram, like this lift for example, and open the developer tab, right, here you have the client ID and the CSS class to be applied to that thing when it's published to the client. So client ID will just become the shape ID of that, right, in the diagram, and the CSS class will become the class applied to that. You can have multiple classes here, by the way. So for this lift, for example, we have C as a name, and the client ID is lift C, and the CSS class is also lift C. And for the slope, for example, we specify only the class. The client ID is generated automatically. It's not specified by us explicitly, so there will be something, but we need to know what exactly there will be so that we can identify that later. Okay, when we export that, this will be just applied to the CSS. So in addition to that, right, we need to build this panel with the checkboxes, and this can be done with adding a custom sidebar. This is not out of the box like functionality. We will need to add that ourselves. To do that, we can use actually the sidebar panel, and over here on the sidebar panel we can enable custom template, right, and then go to the default template here. And here, as you can see, right, there are lifts and just the number of checkboxes in here. So each is basically identified with a label, and then it has a name, right, and also it has some data attribute which we'll use in our script basically to get the target element to toggle when the corresponding checkbox is clicked, right. So here the first one is bound like to the lift A, and this is like refers to that by ID. This one is turned to lift B, lift C, and so on, and this is actually refers to a class. So when we turn that, right, it can toggle multiple elements on the diagram actually. So okay, now to the script. If I go to the script, right, what it does, first it just basically gets all the checkboxes on the document. from this sidebar. It just collects them by the fact that it has this data shapes attributes, right? Then for each checkbox over here, it just updates it, right, and subscribes to changes. On each changes, it will update it again. And on update, right, it will just get the selector from the checkbox. That is, like in this case, it will be lift A, or in this case, it will be slope 3, right? And then, depending on the value of that thing, it will just select all the shapes from the diagram, which are corresponding to that selector. And if it is checked, right, it will add class lift on to all the shapes which are affected, right, and remove the class lift off. And for the other one, right, if it is toggled off, then it will do the opposite, right? Add the class lift off and remove the class lift on CSS class. These are basically responsible for the visual representation of these classes, lift on, lift off. They can be defined on the next tab. All the CSS that is added to the diagram, right, can be defined on the next tab, CSS class. Here you can just define any CSS. It will be just incorporated basically into the exported HTML/SVG, right? So what this cryptic CSS does is a very simple thing. I can explain it. Just this mark U thing. Here, for example, it is just another SVG, some random SVG, just to show how it works. I just copied the styles from that piece, right? And then here we have this like stroke and a keyframe animation that is just doing this mark U, right? And so if what the script changes, right, is this class lift on, lift off, right? So now it's lift on, right? If I change the class to lift off, right, it will be like that. So it's turned off basically. If I'm doing it on, right, then it is running, yeah. And with that you can actually customize the appearance and basically do whatever you need here. Like for example, I can have a big mark U, like, and all that can be applied basically to my lift, yeah, on the diagram. But that's just how in principle this like style toggling works for the line, yeah. So the script, where it is, yeah, here it is, the script. The script will just toggle those classes when we click corresponding, like checkboxes in here. So now I export the thing, right, to a file, just plain export, nothing with all the defaults. Basically, this will be the default that's set now to skip because I already did it before. So I'm pushing it, right? Then the files will be generated and yeah, hopefully we will get exactly the same diagram, right? This is running, and yeah, when I toggle stuff, I get those things changing. Well, we can check actually that also in debugger. Yeah, I can wait a second. Let me attach it to the window so that we can monitor how it works on the HTML level. Yeah, maybe that will be a little bit clear. If I hover over that thing, right, the line that is like currently running, you can see that there is that it was exported from Visio like like a fragment here. And here is our ID we specified in Visio. ID is lift A, and that element will be toggled actually when we click on that thing. So if we select, this another line like here, this one for example, yeah. I'm trying to hit it. Wait a second. Once again. Yeah, this one maybe. No. Where it is? Nah, it's frozen by that big picture, yeah. Okay. Let me try to select it manually, yeah. Okay, let's get rid of that picture, maybe, yeah. How to get rid of that? You just switch over to Visio basically, right? Switch to this background page and I will just remove it for now. And it will be blank, so yeah. The diagram will look like that, and then I re-export it. Right. 1 second. Yeah, and here we go. Okay, then we go to the editor again, sorry, to the developer tools again, and then let me try to select that one, that piece, right, this path, right, and then there is a G, and here is a class that will be toggled, piece 10. The class we specified here in Visio actually for this path, right? If you open it here in the developer, here is the class. So by that you can just identify shapes and do with the script whatever you basically want with that shape already in the script. Here actually the editor in Visio for the script editor for the things that will be incorporated supports some autocomplete. So you're kind of not completely lost what you can do. And the root object for the SvgPublish itself is a diagram object, right? And if you try to type here, like for example, diagram dot, and then you will see all the properties which are kind of, you know, exist on the diagram. So for the diagram you can get shapes, yeah, you can set selection, you can get layers, pages, and other stuff like that. Yeah, so for example, for the shapes it is a map, right? If you hover over that thing, you will also have a tooltip over here explaining what it is actually, right? And let me, for example, like get some page, like, you know, by ID shape 1, right? And then I also get the properties of the shape itself so that I can use them, you know, like properties, text, links, and other stuff for the shape I can access. Okay, hopefully that clarifies a little bit the editor for the script, but it is just a standard JavaScript with, yeah, you can do it like elsewhere as well, but this is just built into this tool. Okay, so let me try to export that again. Hopefully it works, yeah. And yeah, I hope that was not that complicated, this video, yeah. Please leave in the comments, yeah, any questions. I will try to answer them. Okay, yeah, it's still working. Thank you for watching, yeah, guys. That's it for now, yeah. Thank you. See you next time. Hopefully I will have some videos coming out soon regarding, you know, the samples and usage of this SvgPublish. Yeah, thanks again for watching. See you later. Bye.